Test. Welcome everybody. Appreciate you taking the time to be here this morning. I don't know whether it's comforting or more nerve-wracking to see a lot of familiar faces out here in the audience. So I appreciate you taking the time to come out this morning. I'll try to get through this presentation and maybe give you a little insight to who I am and how I view the department. They asked us to talk a little bit about ourselves, our education, why we want the position, and then perform a SWOT analysis of the department. Think of the SWOT being the strength, weaknesses, which are internal, and the opportunities and threats as external. So I'll start out a little bit with my family. To give you an idea of who I am and where I came from, and a little bit of my culture. Public service has been in my family for a minimum of 3 generations. In the middle there, you'll see a picture of my grandfather. Seems to be looking more and more familiar when I look in the mirror all the time. He was a firefighter in Kansas City, Missouri. As he was going to dental school, once he became a dentist, he went out to Southwest Kansas and he worked there as a dentist, but he also was involved in the Rotary and was the volunteer fire chief for their community. In the bottom, the left-hand corner is my mother and father. Both of those were public servants as well. My father was a city employee for 30 years with the city of Lawrence. There's been a Coffey working for the city of Lawrence every year since 1975. So the city's been very, very good to us. He retired after 30 years. My mother, she originally worked for Dr. Prager some surgeons here in town. And then she went on to work for LMH and eventually retired from Burt Nash. Up in the upper right-hand corner is my wife, my daughter, her graduation for a master's degree. My wife retired after 36 years of teaching. I think 31 of those was in the Lawrence School District as a middle school math teacher. So you can imagine what kind of patience she has. My daughter just completed her 4th year of teaching kindergarten over in Topeka, and she'll be teaching 4th grade next year. The bottom right is my son with my granddog. And my son, he's a para at Southwest Middle School and the football coach there, wrestling coach. And then on the upper left hand is my other son, who's an electrician's apprentice in Colorado. And then he's got his son Jackson and my grandson with him. The public service has been an integral part of my family since the last 3 generations, and probably further back than that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to get off this stage because it's killing me. So they gave me the thing to advance the slides, and I'm going to try to warm the mic at the same time, so hopefully it won't fall down. So a little bit about me. What do I do in my personal life away from the job? I do try to get away from the job. I enjoy playing golf. I'm a terrible golfer, but I enjoy playing. I go out as often as I can. Most of my time, every other weekend, is consumed with my grandson who comes to stay with us all weekend. Jackson there. And I love him a lot, and I love it when he comes, but I love it when he leaves. He's 4 years old and he absolutely wears me out. In the top right-hand corner, that's my parents' cabin in Colorado. It's one of my favorite places to go. It's a truly a getaway spot. And if I get out there, I can be able to relax, and it's just a little special place to me. And then in my other life, my family's from Southwest Kansas. I used to go out there in the summertime and farm, and I really enjoy that. I think if I had anything else to do in my career, I would have been a farmer. So it's a picture of me drilling alfalfa in our pasture up there. And then in the spring, we burn off our CRP grass, and it's always quite an interesting process. If we can keep it within our boundaries of our property, we're pretty happy. But that's what I do within my personal life. So a little bit about the work me. How about that mustache? Great mustache. I could grow one like that now, but it just doesn't have that color in it. It started in 1985 with the Lawrence Fire Department. Jim Swain hired me. At that point in my life, before I got hired, I was kind of wandering around, trying different things, working different jobs, going to school, doing many different things. And my father said, "Hey, how about a career in the fire service? Your grandfather was a firefighter. Maybe it'd be something you'd be interested in." So I said, "Yeah, I'll give it a try." And got the opportunity to do that, and spent the last 34 years working for the fire department. As my wife, who's a math teacher, told me, I put 33 years on here, and she said, "It's 2019, that's 34 years. So luckily I have somebody there to help me. So I've worked for the fire department for 34 years. I've worked about every level within the organization, and that's really given me a unique insight. I know what it's like for the night consultants. I know what it's like for our firefighters. I rode out of all of our stations with the exception of Station 5. It wasn't built by the time I moved inside. I went into the training division and worked there as a captain and then eventually as division chief of training. So it's been a wonderful opportunity and great experience for me. During that time, I've been able to accomplish several career goals. One of them, as I look towards my career, I got my associate's degree from Johnson County in 1992. I got my bachelor's degree from Baker University, 2010, in business administration, and then by A&T in 2013. As many of you know, we went through a transition process. We were EMT intermediates, state changed the curriculum on us, and we became A&Ts. In 2007, I had the fortunate opportunity to be selected to be a part of the Kansas Incident Management Team. And that's been a true value to me, because with the incident management team experience, I've had the opportunity to respond throughout the state of Kansas and nationally as well. First deployment I went on was a Redding tornado down by, if you're familiar with it, down in Flint Hills, down by Emporia, if you know that area. So I responded to the Redding tornado and spent 5 days there as part of the incident management team. That's what IMT stands for. The following year, we responded out to Barber County, Medicine Lodge, and we dealt with the large wildfires there. I never can forget the sight, pulling up there at 2 o'clock in the morning as we came in to Medicine Lodge. You could see the glow of the fire on the west side of Medicine Lodge, and they were worried about the community burning down. Great experience there, managing those resources, those internal resources from the state of Kansas, and working within the disaster management plan. Following year, responded out to Reno County, Hudson, and worked the wildland fires there. Chief Stark was out there as incident commander, we were the planning section chief. That first night, we were worried about the city of Hudson being consumed to the point that we ordered 200 ambulances and to try to get coming into the community, because they thought they were going to have so many casualties within the city because they thought the fire was burning through. So we were working on resources to get ambulances. After that, I had the opportunity to go out to Maryland, Hurricane Sandy, work within Garrett County, Maryland. We started in the state EOC. We responded from the state EOC in the Baltimore area, went out to Garrett County and worked the incident there. They received 36 inches of wet, heavy snow that took out all their infrastructure. And they had people that were without medications, without power. We managed that effort to get search and rescue teams in there, along with the National Guard and the power companies. And we used the Incident Command System, or ICS, to be able to put that in place. And it worked flawlessly as we went. I also had the opportunity to go to Donovan County up in northeast Kansas. It's just across the river from St. Joe when we were dealing with the floods on the Missouri River. And we managed that effort and built contingency plans that if the levee were to breach, what was going to happen for evacuation plans and the notice that went into that. And so I've been able to gather all those experiences working for the incident management team. And obviously those experiences played out the other night, last Tuesday, when we had that opportunity when the tornado hit our community. We were up at the EOC, we had prepared in advance, we had a meeting, we had 10 extra people working and staffed up. And as that came into our community, while I was nervous about it and concerned, there's also a level of confidence in knowing that, hey, I was prepared, our organization was prepared, and we're going to be able to deal with that. 2012, I got my Chief Officer certification for the first time. That's through the Center of Public Safety Excellence. And that's an outstanding program. It is really about continuous improvement. You go through and you look at your career, your development, and you determine where your strengths and where your weaknesses are, and then you develop a plan to overcome those and improve those. So, very important, it's worked well for me. I have to mention, in these two gentlemen, they were responsible for my career. There's been many people throughout my career that provide mentoring to me and guidance and kept me going along the path that I should have been going. I just want to call out Chief Jim McSwain, who hired me. He promoted me to acting officer, lieutenant, and captain. He came into this community and really set the change within our community, established many things within our organization that we didn't have before. He taught me not to be scared to implement change. Great man. Chief Bradford promoted me to division chief, and Chief Bradford continued the initiative of change. And it's always about what's happening, why are we doing what we do, and if we don't know, if we said just because we've always done that, that wasn't good enough. We had to have a reason why, and if it wasn't there, change. And he was big on technology, making sure we had the latest technology to make us as efficient and effective as we could be. And so he also was a real big motivator in me to continue to develop my career in education as I went. And I'll be forever grateful for that. So now let's talk a little bit about the department. And excuse me while I get a drink. So we're going to do our SWOT now. Strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. Strength. This was the easier one to talk about. This is the one we like to talk about because this is who we are and these are the good things. But I want to start out first with personnel, people within our organization. We have absolutely the best people of any department I've been around. People are truly dedicated, work hard, want to provide the best level of service they can, and they are what makes the organization. It's not the equipment. We have, and I'll talk a little about equipment and our apparatus, but it's the people that make the department. And from the very newest employee to the most senior, we have great people. And we've always done that, and we'll continue to work hard. Just to give you a little example of how dedicated our personnel are, we were preparing for the storm coming in. Like I said, we'd call back 10 people. We do that in an effort to staff what we call our utilities, or like a pickup. And we put them on those to deal with power lines to go down, and our storm, that type of thing. Or we're able to take them like the other night, reconfigure them quickly into engine companies or medic units. So we were able to get 10 people knowing the storm was coming in to come in. But we also had people that were on duty that knew the track of the storm. And we had 2 of our individuals that were riding on Quint 2 that night as the storm came in. And they're tracking it, they're watching it just like us. And they see the storm come through the Lone Star area. And they live in the Lone Star area. And so they're receiving notifications while they're working that their home, one of them, his home of his parents had been destroyed, as well as his outbuilding and shop, and his home had been affected. He was on duty and continued to stay on duty and serve the citizens of Lawrence, even though we were dealing with a tornado through that incident. And it's true dedication. And we were able to get him off later as we got more personnel in, but he knew he had a job to do, and he stayed here to be able to provide that service. So we're extremely fortunate with our personnel. We got our firefighters, and we have our captains, who we call our managers. They are the true doers within our organization. They make things happen. They have the greatest influence within our organization. Without them, we couldn't get things done. They provide the leadership on a daily basis in the stations, that 24-hour shift, guiding our personnel, working on those emergency scenes, implementing our policies. And then they manage many of our programs. We're a very unique organization. We rely on our captains a lot to be able to get our programs going. So if we didn't have them, many of the programs, such as our SCBA, our building maintenance programs, our clothing, a number of those programs wouldn't get done, and we have to have those captains to be able to manage that, and they make it happen. And then we have our division chiefs that provide our support over our different divisions. Those gentlemen provide great support as well. They're innovators. They're looking ahead to see what's out there. They're bringing new programs in. They support me as I go through our efforts, and I couldn't do it without them. Let's go on to talk a little bit about ISO 1, an accredited agency. The City of Lawrence Douglas County Fire Medical Department is one of 77 internationally accredited agencies and ISO 1 agencies. ISO 1 is an insurance service organization rating. It's a rating on your fire service within your community, and we're in 1, which is the highest, the lowest being a 10. We're also internationally accredited as well. And that internationally accredited accreditation is an important process because really it's an internal look at our organization, at every aspect of our organization. All the way from what's happening operationally, all the way to the governance at City Hall, to our maintenance, our emergency communication center, our water supply, and it's about continuous improvement. And we've done that for 3 times over the last 12 years. And that has been one of the most important things we've done as an organization. It's about continuous improvement, and doing that has been incredible for us. Facilities, we got some of the best facilities. Currently, you can see Station 1 that's being remodeled over here, along with the Senior Resource Center. The city's investing in the county about $7.14 million in that renovation. It's going to be an incredible building when we get it done. I know those firefighters are desperate to get out of that trailer, and I feel for them. They've been living in that little trailer for the last 2 years, so we need to get them out of there. But we remodeled or built new stations throughout the city in the last 5 years, and so we have outstanding facilities. We're an ALS service. For those that don't know, the Lawrence Douglas County Fire Medical Department provides fire suppression within the city of Lawrence. But we provide the ALS EMS transport throughout Douglas County. We're one of 4 agencies in the state of Kansas that does that, fire-based EMS. And we do an outstanding job. We got people that are out there running calls. It's the largest percentage of our calls. We run about 13,340 some calls a year. And the biggest majority of those, 75% of them are EMS calls. There are people out there on a daily basis managing those calls. So we're a Type 1 ALS service. Firefighter cancer prevention, that's been a big initiative within the organization. We've been implementing steps along. Firefighters nationally have a higher incidence of cancer than the general population. And it makes sense if you look at what's going on. They're fighting fires, they're exposed to many carcinogens, those products of combustion from those hydrocarbons that are out there. So we've implemented programs for firefighter cancer prevention. And so we've done things like buy additional Nomex hoods that don't allow the particles to go through. We've bought gear extractors, and these are like large wash machines that are designed to wash their bunker gear, that fire protective suit they wear. We've put in new smoke cleansing devices that are mounted on the ceiling, and when the exhaust for the trucks kicks on, these kick on, and they work on cleaning those contaminants out of the air. And so those are going on all the time. We've also put wipes on the trucks to be able to wipe those products off their body as quickly as they can. And then this year, the city funded a capital improvement project where we're actually buying a second set of bunker gear. So now they can come back from fires, take that contaminated gear off, get it cleaned up and washed, and then put a dry, clean set of gear on. So we're extremely excited about that effort. And then our newest truck even has an initiative, what they call Clean Cab, where we're trying to reduce the amount of contaminants we bring back from the fire inside the fire truck to reduce that exposure. So firefighter cancer prevention is an important one. Additionally, one that goes with that is firefighter mental health. That's been a big push within our IFF. Locally here is the mental health preparation, developing peer support teams. It's been a big issue throughout the fire service, and the IFF has led that charge, as well as our senior staff is being involved in that as well. Douglas County Sheriff's Office, and there's been a new app coming out soon for first responders that provide some help if they're requiring assistance. Technology, we're big into technology. We try to maximize technology to increase our effectiveness. We're seeing a higher and higher demand for calls for service, and so how can we maximize that? So we're using technology. Now we have MDCs in the trucks. We got GPS on our trucks on the intersections within the town here. We did an initiative with the Public Works Department where we put GPS on all the intersections, and that allows us to get the trucks through the intersections quicker. We have AVL now, and that dispatches the closest truck. We have new life packs, full life packs that can transmit to the hospital. So we have wonderful things for the technology. We've got to keep moving on. Prevention. One of the big aspects, and this was Chief Swing up to start our prevention initiative, is very important. We want to get out there. Anything we can do on the front end for prevention is going to reduce the impact on the backside. So what we invest on the front is critically important. So we invest that in our fire prevention efforts to try to get out and prevent those things from happening. Also injury prevention as well, and we'll talk about that in our public education program. Douglas County first responders, they're integral to our support for EMS, particularly in the county. They're able to get on the scene quicker and initiate that BLS and sometimes ALS care before we can get there. So they're integral to what we do and a vital component. We're so appreciative of what they're doing, and we're trying to do things to make them more effective. One of the things we've recently pushed out, or getting ready to push out, is a device that's called the Audibles device. It's a mechanical CPR device that we're pushing out to the first responders to help them be able to do more, longer, efficient CPR. Public education, so important, kind of like the prevention. What we can do up front, maybe we can stop the loss on the backside. So we're trying to do that through loss efforts to try to do trips, slips, trips, and falls, those types of things. Fire extinguisher training, educate the children, bike helmets. Just to give you an important story related to bike helmets, my daughter's a school teacher in Topeka. This about past month ago, one of their students was killed in an incident. No bike helmet, he was hit by a car and had a severe head injury. I think our bike helmet program, if you look around our community, I think about every kid in town's got one. He's got one of those red or blue bike helmets on. You know, that's our effort to get bike helmets disseminated. So public education is important. PPE and equipment, I talked about the second set of undergear that we get in our personnel is so vital to us, and getting that out, as well as all the equipment. If you compare us to anybody in the state, I'd say we got some of the finest equipment that's out there. We got good hose, good nozzles, good EMS equipment, and we're strong in that area. Apparatus, we were lucky enough to get an apparatus replacement program adopted several years ago, and now we're able to replace our apparatus. They require less maintenance, less downtime, we get more trade-in value for them, and it's been very effective for us for the fire apparatus. Our agreement with the county, we work with them, they replace our medic units. We get 2 new medic units every year. This is a replacement cycle, about 6 years annual life on a medic unit, and we use them pretty hard. So we got good quality equipment. Partnerships throughout the community. We have several of those established, and we can always work to establish more, but we work with the Kansas Fire Rescue Training Institute to be able to work to get access to training for our people and work with them to use our facilities. We work with our traditional partners in law enforcement and EMS. Lawrence Memorial Hospital, we're establishing relationships with Burt Nash, as well as Douglas County. And the last one on there for strength is our labor management initiative. We have a strong labor management initiative. We meet with our labor group once a month to talk about any issues, problems that might be out there. We work on joint initiative problems. Last year we worked on several policies and went through it, and I think that's important to be able to have that perspective for all of us. So the labor management part is an important part. So our strengths. So let's talk about the things that are a little bit tougher, our weaknesses, kind of revealing a little bit who we are. Several of these have been identified through our accreditation process. When we had a third party come in and look through our materials and stuff, they identified some of these as well. But one of the big ones that we're seeing an impact on is our total response time. It continues to increase. We have a policy that says for critical calls within the city, we want to have the first unit on scene in 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Right now, we're up to about 8 minutes and 20 seconds. That's the first unit getting on scene. So our goal is getting further and further away of reaching that. Out in the county, we have a 12-minute and 30-second response time. We want to get that first unit on scene for the critical call. Now, that doesn't include our county responders because we don't have access to that. So when I say they're integral, that's that part of it. It's so important. They're able to get there much faster because they're out there in the county and they're able to respond. But for the 12 minutes and 30 seconds, we're not meeting that mark in the county. We're at about 13 minutes and 40 seconds. And a lot of that's due to this increased call volume as we continue to move forward. Record management system, we haven't replaced the one we have. It was implemented in the early 2000s. We're not able to get data out of that as quickly as possible. And so we need to look at replacing that. We got an initiative going right now, hope of replacing that at the end of this year. Other threat to us or weaknesses are high utilization group I call HUGs. These are people that, loyalty customers, as Chief Jules calls them. These are the people that we're going to go over and over again. We need to find a way to deal with these folks. In 2018, we had 800 lift assists. These are people that weren't hurt, that just needed our assistance getting up. And so we got to work on being able to see how we can help those people and get them in the system and get them additional help. Technical rescue education, this is a core part. We're responsible for all technical rescue aspects within the city. We also provide it on mutual aid into the county. And we need to be able to do that a little bit more efficiently and deliver that education. Our admin staff support ratio, we have the highest ratio of operations personnel to staff, meaning we need more staff personnel. We participated in a assessment that was done in the Kansas City Metro and some other departments, and many other departments have more admin support than us. I think that's reflective of us as we rely on our captains so much as in our management. Retrieval of staff, that's a big one for us. One of the things that's out there in this day and age, many of our people live outside, so in the event of emergency, we have to call our staff back in, and sometimes that can be difficult. It can take up to an hour to be able to get people back in. So it's something we have to be aware of. Recruitment is going to be an ongoing factor for us. One of the things that we need to look for is finding more paramedics, more firefighters. There's a high demand. I was out at an EMS educational seminar about a week ago, and one of the things everybody talked about was the recruitment of paramedics. It's getting difficult out there. They can't turn out enough fast enough, and they're in high demand. So we're going to have to get creative in our effort to create paramedics. Call volume, I talked about the increase in that. We saw a 6% increase from last year in our call volume. So it continues to go up 11% for the last 2 years. We need to make sure we're keeping our diversity within our organization to kind of comparable to the community. Social media, and that's probably more on me. Social media is huge now. We need to be able to push that information out there to our people quicker in the community, and that's something we can do. On social media, novice, don't know much about it, but I know our police department, I talk to people from all over the country, and they all talk about the police department's Twitter account or whatever it is. Now they share information. So I think that's something we need to maximize. And then our prevention division staffing, it's been at the same level since the 1990s with 3 people. And as you can imagine, the growth in our community, they need some additional assistance there. Opportunities within these are externals. One of the things we're looking at is mobile integrated health. As I talked about those HUBs customers out there, the high utilization group, mobile integrated health is something we should be looking at. We're talking with LMH currently to establish a partnership. So when we have those people, the lift assist people, we can get those folks out there to get them in the system and get them help. Right now, the federal government, through Health and Human Services, has put out a program. It's called the ET3 program, Emergency Triage, Treatment, and Transport. And it's going to be a funding mechanism that maybe it's a little bit different than traditional. And if we have this mobile integrated health, they actually pay to take people to critical care facilities, their primary care physicians. They may also reimburse for visits from like a mobile integrated health unit. And so there could be some funding that actually pays for that. We're working on a new county EMS agreement that's currently in discussions, and that'll provide new opportunities for us. This past Wednesday, I learned about GMT, that's Ground Emergency Medical Transport. That's a Medicare expansion program that's outside the typical Medicaid, and they have that, and they're getting ready to start it. It's for fire-based EMS agencies, and they're going to reimburse for fire response to medical calls. And that's an initiative that's just started up again in the state of Kansas, and it's got support coming out of the governor's office as well as KDHE. So I think that's something we're going to see. I mean, Medicaid expansion, you saw with the legislator, the House passed it this year, the Senate didn't. That's an opportunity for additional funding that's growing. The growth of our county population, the more people in, hopefully the more revenue, the more sales tax that comes in provide us. Technology is going to be big. Body cameras, we talk about law enforcement, but one of the things the EMS community is starting to see is the value of those. If If there's any complaints, we have that recorded. It helps people with their patient care reports. So a lot of good things about that. Nanotechnology related to fire safety. It's being used to be applied on different surfaces to reduce the incidence of fire happening. And medical equipment, you've seen how it's happening with the miniaturization of everything. I think our medical equipment, I think in the future, they'll have medical equipment, body cameras all together, and our paramedics will be out in the field, and they'll be able to communicate, and the docs in the ER will be able to see what they have. Pulse point, hands-only CPR. How many of you know what hands-only CPR is? All right. In Douglas County right now, there's a 50-50 chance if you dropped on the floor right now, somebody initiates CPR. Just a 50% chance. We need to change that. And that's something we can do through our public education, our social media, to get that number higher. Chief Jules has implemented a new program called CAPE, Cardiac Arrest Program for Excellence, and we've seen outstanding increases in our survivability of our cardiac arrest patients. But one of the things we need to do is be able to engage the citizens. We want you to push hard and push fast on somebody's chest. You don't have to remember how many compressions to how many breaths or anything like that. We just want you to call 911 and push hard and push fast. And if we can do that, we'll really see those savability rates go up. MyRC is a program that we, I'll say, copy Kansas City. It's incredibly important to us. Our community departments will continue to do those, and as I talked about, recruitments. And I'll just finish up real quickly with our threats. Diminishing flat sales tax, you guys have probably read in the newspaper recently about that. Infill development, we talk about infill development being good, but really it does reduce the cost of infrastructure expansion if we don't have that. But we're in the people business. And no matter how many people we have, we're still going to have to run calls. We've had a 1% growth rate in the last 5 years. That's going to increase our demand for our services. External recruitment, now we're seeing more than I've ever seen it in the fire service. People are starting to do lateral transfers within organizations. I work from one fire department, I move laterally into another one. New EMS standards, the Board of EMS is currently working on one of those that could impact us. The ECC call processing times, we'll continue to work on that to be able to reduce that. Natural disasters, increasing call volume, foreign and domestic terrorism, and we've just seen recently the shootings in Virginia Beach that happened. We'll have to be prepared for that. State funding, reduction in federal grants, and then the K-10 bypass traffic. You've seen what that does and the growth that we do it. But that's some of the threats that are out there. I think no matter what happens within our organization, we got great people, and no matter who leads it, whether it's me or one of the other two candidates, our organization is going to continue to provide good service, outstanding service to the community, and we're extremely lucky we have that. So I appreciate you taking the time to come out here and listen to me, and thank you for participating.
Take a breath, take a drink. So just logistically what we'll do is we'll go through some questions. These are questions that have been submitted over the past week. I'm going to ask them and wait for a response. After this is finished, we'll take a short break between candidates. That'll give you a chance to take a break. And the restrooms are out in the lobby there if you want to get something to drink or something like that. So we'll go that way with the next two candidates. Are you ready? First question. Please describe your leadership style and provide an example.
I guess my leadership style, I'd say, was to be leading by example. I don't expect anybody to do anything that I wouldn't do myself. And when I ask them that, I can do that with full confidence that I'm not doing anything I wouldn't expect to do myself. And so, as we work through it, an example of that would be working with our captains as we deal with issues related to policies and procedures. One of the things I tell our folks is I expect you to know our policies and procedures. If you know our policies and procedures, you can't get in trouble. You can't go wrong. I can't do anything to you. Nobody can do anything to you if you're right and you know the policies and procedures. So it's critical you do that. But I think my thing is to lead by example. I'm not going to do anything or ask you to do anything I'm going to do myself.
Based on what you currently know about the city, the county, and the department, what do you see as the highest priority topic we face in emergency services?
I think it goes back to our call volume increase and back to that, what I call HUGs, that high utilization group, especially as it relates to our EMS calls and that assistance. We need to be able to control that. And what we've seen the last few years is really, things have been pushed down on a local level. The state has closed many of its facilities. There's people now that need help that could have got from the state before, but now it's been pushed down to the level. So we need to work as a community to deal with that group of people that's that high utilization group, and maybe get them the assistance they need. There's a big initiative by Bert Nash, the Lawrence Memorial Hospital. We talk about My RC, My Resource Connection, where you have those case managers. They're developing a network, and we're participating in that to be able to get those people into the services they need to reduce that impact on us. That mobile integrated health could deal with a lot of that. We can keep our units, our medic units particularly, available for those critical calls.
Question 3. Other than an expansion of the city, what do you think is the biggest challenge to Lawrence Douglas County Fire Medical in the next 10 years?
I think I'll go back to recruitment, and that's an immediate one, and I think it's going to be an ongoing one as we look at our service and having advanced level providers within our EMS service. We do a great job of recruiting firefighters to become part of our organization, and there's programs out there. Johnson County Community College has a fire science program. Kansas City, Kansas Community College has one as well. But one of the things, there's also programs there where we have paramedics. They have a paramedic program in Johnson County, as well as Kansas City, Kansas, and the competition for those resources. And somehow we have to be able to get the word out, to be able to recruit those folks to become EMS providers and come and be a part of our organization. We do that right now. We have the students from Johnson County come ride with us, the paramedic students from KCK. We've had some from Hutchinson Community College. But we need to continue to track that. We're also working with the school district to start instilling this. They have a public safety curriculum, and we work with them to try to establish relationships. Now they're doing what they call an EMR, Emergency Medical Response class. It's a certification, it's an entry level into EMS. The high school provides that. And so as part of their class, one of the things they do is we go out and we spend a day, we show them our extrication equipment, we show them our medic units. They get a practice putting people inside medical units using our cots and equipment. And so we're trying to get that initiative in their idea and what they need to do to become paramedics early in their careers. And so I think we need to continue to do that and establish that, because I think that's going to be an ongoing need as we're providing ALS service within our community.
Great, thank you. Next question. Currently, the city team, which includes the Interim Fire Chief and 1 Battalion Chief, are in negotiations with the local union. One of the items being discussed is minimum staffing. What is your view on minimum staffing, and what are your plans to maintain it?
Minimum staffing, as you talk about it, in the city of Lawrence, per our policies and procedures, minimum staffing is 4 people on our fire apparatus and 2 people on our medic units. And we've had that since I've been here in 1985, and we'll continue to staff that policy. It's integral that we have those resources. I talked about the callback of our personnel being a challenge. One of the things, we have an isolated deployment model. We have to have those resources get on the scene as quickly as we can, because our help is coming 30 to 45 minutes away if we call in mutual aid from Johnson County. So we have to have those resources early and fast on the scene. Also, the more resources we can put on the scene quickly, the more impact we can have on the fire, on the medical call, and it also increases firefighter safety. So we will always be a huge advocate for minimum staffing of 4. But as we look around the country, most units run 3. But we believe 4 is the model in Lawrence, and I will continue to advocate for that 4-person staffing on all the fire apparatus, 2 people staffing on our medic units.
Thank you. Next question. Every department has its good times and its tough times. This department has had a hard year. How do you, as the new chief, go about creating a transparent atmosphere, develop trust, improve morale, and uplift the department?
Yeah, I would say it's been a tough year. I think that's a pretty descriptive statement for our organization. Actually, it's been a tough couple of years. But I think try to be as open as possible. There's no hidden agendas. We meet with our managers on a monthly basis, try to share any information that's going on with the organization or the city with those managers, so they can push that information out to the those captains can push it out to their staff personnel. We have the labor management initiative where we meet once a month to talk about what's happening within the organization. When the opportunity comes, I try to stop by the stations and talk to people, see what's going on and get a pulse. I've always said when the door's open, I'm there from 7 to 5 about every day, and anybody's always welcome to come to my office and talk to me. I don't think I'm a big scary person or anything. But I think what we have to do is continue to be open and communicate with one another. It's the biggest thing that goes with it. And I think morale is an individual thing. Each person has to determine in their own mind what they feel is the best for themselves. But we'll continue to provide the best service possible, provide the best equipment, the best apparatus, the best service that we can. We provide training opportunities for our people, and we'll try to continue to move forward. So I think just the open communication is the biggest thing to increase as we continue to move forward and evolve. We've got a lot of things happening in the next year. This year we still got a lot going on, trying to get Station 1 done, the new training tower done. We got $2 million worth of fire apparatus coming next year. We got 2 new medic units coming. So there's a lot of fun, great things coming. We have to look at the redeployment model of our apparatus as it relates to the new apparatus that we're getting next year. So I think just communicating always is the critical part of that.
This question is from the wife of a firefighter, and she says, I'm expecting leadership from a person that puts safety as the #1 priority. Can you talk to me about how you define safety and how you currently are active in ensuring the safety of the men and women who work in the field?
Well, I mentioned earlier that our #1 thing and our strength is our personnel, and I believe that. And safety is integral to everything we do. We have to protect our most vital resource, and that's our personnel. And we do that through a lot of different ways. We talk about, in our recruit class, we talk about safety. And we talk, similar to the military, we talk about recruit resource management. If you see something, say something. And we want all of our people to see something and say something. We have the health and safety program team that works. It's a labor management initiative as well, where we're identifying maybe safety concerns that are out there, and we're trying to address those. We talked about the cancer initiative, where we're trying to deal with things to not take those things home with us. So safety is a big part of what we do, and we want everybody to participate in it. We make sure that we have policies and procedures in place that people are aware of and they know to follow. We practice those procedures. We have a safety officer assigned on every major incident we go to. Their sole function is to look to make sure that our people are not in unsafe situations. There's a risk to what we do. There's no way we can eliminate the risk, but we can use good, sound practices and procedures to increase the safety of our personnel.
This is something of a 3-part question. I'll ask the first and second part and then follow up with the third part. The overall question is, what is your vision for recruiting? And how do you plan to address the shortage of paramedics within the department?
Well, I think I talked a little bit about this earlier as we talked about recruitment. we have a number of initiatives now to talk about. We work closely with Johnson County Community College, Kansas City, Kansas Community College. We work with Hutchinson Community College. They have a program there that we participate in field operations there. And so we're getting those folks when they're already in the program. But I think the real recruitment has to start at even the younger levels. We talked about the public safety program within the school district, getting those young folks that maybe think they want to be doctors or nurses and maybe deviate their career plans into a public service career in the fire service and becoming paramedics. I also think there's an opportunity at the university that we've never been able to capitalize. There's a great young population up there that works, used to doing team sports, working within groups, that's educated, and somehow if we could get into that network to be able to increase the opportunity for those folks as well. I also think internally we may have to look at options to get more people to go. I think it's important for us also to talk about the benefits to the organization and the individual of being a paramedic. And so we have to share that information, get that out. Right now we're providing an opportunity where we pay for all the tuition up front. They can go to a program where there's a firefighter-friendly schedule. We give them of their 20 field write-outs they have to do. We provide 15 of those that can be done on duty. And so it may just be providing more education internally to our folks as well as what's available out there for them.
And the other piece of that is how to increase diversity in the department through recruiting.
That's always a priority for us. One of the things, I'll go back to the high school programs again and the University of Kansas in an effort to try to get out to those locations to promote that diversity. One of the things that we're seeing in the fire service and the EMS service is the people that are in those programs, there's not a lot of diversity in those. So when we look at those candidates, there's not a diverse population. So one of the things we may have to do is get creative in that. Some of the programs like Kansas City, Kansas Fire Department, Kansas City, Missouri Fire Department, they've developed programs where they go select somebody within that diverse population segment and provide them the opportunity, some of an internship to get them their EMT, to get them their paramedic. And so it may take investment within the organization and the city to go out and recruit those innovative programs and get those people into our organization.
Can you talk to us about any changes you would make in the fire department to reflect the amount of mass shootings we are now experiencing as a country? In what ways do you feel your current department is prepared for such an event? In other words, bulletproof vests, number of responders working in each department, etc. And what are some of the changes other departments across the country have made to prepare and are considered best practices in this area?
Could you go back to the first part of that one?
Sure. Can you talk to us about any changes you would make in the fire department to reflect the amount of mass shootings we are now experiencing as a country?
Well, I don't know if there's anything the fire department can do to impact the number of mass shootings that take place, but we can prepare ourselves, as the second part of the question alluded to. One of the things that we've done, and Lieutenant Barnes is here in the audience today, we worked actively with the Sheriff's Department and the Police Department to develop a response plan for an active shooter event. And we put that in place and we used that. And we use those teams, their combined teams, to be able to go in and really remediate any active shooter event that takes place. And that's a big change for us, and it really changed a little bit of the dynamics. And it also changed putting our firefighters in what we call a high-risk incident. And we put them in an active shooter incident. Law enforcement, obviously, you can see throughout the country, is the lead in that. But after we believe they have the shooter contained or controlled, they're able to send teams in, we call recon or rescue teams, and we combine them with law enforcement, and we go in and we triage and we do rapid extrication of the patients. And for us, we've practiced that with the Sheriff's Office, we've practiced it with the Police Department, and side benefit of that is all of our firefighters and our police officers have also got to know one another better, and so that's been an important program we've done. And we have a policy for that as well.
What is your vision on connecting Lawrence Douglas County Fire Medical to the community? And there's a second part of that, but I'll let you answer that first.
Well, I think we're already connected to the community at a pretty high level. You know, we're out there on a daily basis. What other group in the country has the ability to go into people's lives when they're having a bad day and make a difference? And so we're out there in the community on a daily basis, establishing those relationships and bonds. Our people are out there working in difficult situations, helping people on their worst days, trying to make things better. So we're out there and engaging in that community. We also do that through our public education programs. We're out and we go to the neighborhoods, provide programs to the school districts and those type of things, and those help us in that. I think one of the things we can do more is get out and be a part of the community a little bit more as far as we reach out and we talk about full integrated health, meeting people in non-emergency situations when there's not stress on, there's not an emergency situation. And maybe we can do that through some of the neighborhood groups. We can go out and meet there, or we can go through the school districts that have times when they're having carnivals and those type of things. So there's lots of opportunities outside the emergency response to be able to establish those community relationships.
And the second part of that is also connecting with rural fire and medical departments in Douglas County.
Yeah, well, I mentioned to you earlier about the importance of our Douglas County EMS first responders, how we rely on them so heavily. And we try to engage those at least once a month. We have EMS training that we provide twice a month where they come in. We meet with those. We meet with the leadership of those organizations once a month. I think you see the outcome of those relationships when the tornado last Tuesday night. When that struck the south side, that involved the township fire departments. And I think the first time in my 34 years I saw a true integration of all the fire departments, including the city of Lawrence, in that effort to do those initial primary and secondary searches of those buildings. We had the township departments working together out there. We had city units with them. We had state resources search and rescue team, and up in the emergency management center, we were working as ESF 4, which is fire support, and ESF 9 and 10 hazmat and search and rescue. And we were working to get resources for them to be able to do that. So I think that working relationship we have with our county responders is important. We established that. We worked through our county chiefs meeting. We just had a meeting on Tuesday night this week where we talked about the tornado and did somewhat of an after action and talked about how we can improve things in those relationships. And we also try to do it on a little bit more informal basis by having training sessions. You know, I always say, if we get off pavement, we're in trouble. And if we have to go somewhere where we need somebody to bring us water, those township fire departments know how to draft, they know how to provide water supply operations, and they're a great resource to us. And so we have some opportunities to train. We also allow them to come into our training center. We're building a new training tower, and it'll be completed this year. They're actually, the townships are able to come in and use our training tower as part of their evolutions, and we had a chance to integrate with them at that time as well.
The 10th and final question. I feel like I'm doing a game show. How do you develop your staff in order to allow and encourage all staff to gain the skills necessary to be successful in their promotional aspirations?
Well, I think I have to use a model that was provided for me, and that was what Chief McSwain and Chief Bradford provided, and that was to provide direction and resources, provide them opportunities, and allow them to encourage them to take those opportunities. Sometimes it's difficult to get out of our comfort zone, and sometimes as people are looking to want to promote, they may not know where to go, and they'll provide them direction where they can get that information they're looking for, where they can get that training, what opportunities are out there. I've talked about my opportunities to work with the Kansas Incident Management Team. There's the National Fire Academy out there. And so we just need to be able to provide those opportunities and resources and make them aware of that and encourage and foster that development. And I think that'll help people as they continue to grow in their careers. And I think it's important that all of us have somebody we work with as a mentor, and we need our captains to mentor their people below them. As chiefs, we need to mentor the captains. I need to have somebody mentor me continues. If I work with the fire chief, I can reach out to the city management staff for that. But I think it's big about letting them know what opportunities are out there and then providing those opportunities so they can take advantage of those.
Great, thank you, Shaun. I think that deserves a round of applause.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your time and your patience.